Hello there. It's Mike.
And Katie.
And it's episode 122. What are we talking about today, Katie?
Weekly recap of TV shows.
TV night.
TV night?
On this week's episode of Cup of Rad.
Okay, so first of all, I'm sorry. Normally I do a much better job of being like, so what are we talking about ahead of time? My bad. Mike's face was just like full of disappointment. I had the topic right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you missed the whole TV night.
But I just messed it all up.
They didn't mess it all up. You just threw a wrench in how it sounded.
Okay.
That's what you get. You get raw, uncensored Cup of Rad.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, just you get it all out on the table there.
So,
hi, everyone.
Yeah, hey, guess what? Spring break is over.
Yeah. Sadness.
So this week,
Depression.
Right? This whole spring break, unfortunately, we didn't do our usual Radnesia. But I think it's just because we've been doing a lot of Radnesia just in general.
Yeah, it didn't feel like, oh, we can watch old movies. It's like we always watch old movies.
Yeah.
We had actually new things like Justice League to watch.
Yeah.
So that was part of it too.
And I think too, the lead up to Justice League and all that, I think I got a little burnt out a little bit more on movies as much feeling like.
Well, yeah, it's a totally different feel than last year's spring break. What is that? Different vibe going on for sure.
Last year's spring break, okay, as much as it sucked that there was a pandemic, I gotta admit that spring break lasted 6 months.
Yeah,
that was pretty rad.
He truly trying to find the bright side of that one.
It was like the greatest spring break ever. It just led right into summer.
Yeah,
and so a 6 month spring break, I could handle those more often.
Kiddo was just like all whining about it, and he's like, but it's already over and I gotta wait till the next one. I was like, yeah, spring break's over for this year. I said, your next break is summer. He's like, oh yeah, my next break's 2 months. And I was like, yeah, so stop whining. Right. Real life doesn't have spring breaks.
No, it doesn't.
Your real life does.
My real life does. So I still wish it was longer.
There is a loophole into the system.
Yeah, right?
Real life as teachers do have spring break.
There you go. Kind of. Yeah. I didn't do anything important this spring break. I should have been prepping for things, but I didn't.
No. It went by really fast, but I mean, you had other things. We had lovely housing, appliance problems.
Yeah.
Those were good. Nothing better than a leaking dishwasher.
Yep.
So that is honestly you have a good reason. Having to hand wash all the dishes for that long is
3 meals a day.
Is a change.
I thought my hands would get a break from all the hand washing and all that. And
they're probably in worse condition now.
Right. And then you add on the fact that I started going to the gym this week, so then I was wearing my mask again, and I was like, I didn't feel like I was on a break this week. I think I did more work. But so this week, it's TV night. We just watched some TV. We did watch one movie though. So
we did. You want to knock it off that one out of the park first? We're gonna wait. We're gonna let them ponder what it could be.
Yeah. If they're good detectives, they'll already have figured it out. Especially because the title card. If you get those, I don't know if you see the title cards.
There's that too.
There's a hint.
Ooh. Okay, so TV. Well, you and Kiddo watched some stuff while I was not around.
What did we watch when you were not around?
You watched Gargoyles.
Oh, yeah. Well, last spring break, in the 6 month spring break, we had started watching Gargoyles because it was part of Disney Plus, and then we just stopped once we got to the end of season 1, and this spring break we picked it up. We'd watched some of season 2, and then we'd gotten into watching more of season 2. This spring break. The one thing that the reason why it also comes up is the fact that NECA announced that they're doing a Gargoyles line.
Yes.
So it corresponds to all that. Now, one thing I think is interesting is how focused season 1 is of Gargoyles because it deals more with the clan and Elisa and Xanatos all in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2 has taken a change of pace where they're off on this magical boat that takes them to where they need to go, and it's mainly just Goliath, Bronx, Elisa, and then you have Angelica, which you find out is, of course, is technically Goliath and Damona's child. But Goliath for the longest time was all like, "You are one of the clan. You do not have a mother and father. Stop thinking like that," and blah blah blah. You're just we don't think like that, and blah blah blah. But it's all these adventures that take place where this boat's just taking them to where they need to be. So you don't really have a lot of
Where are they going in the magical boat?
where the boat needs them to be.
But in New York or around the world?
Or anywhere in the world.
Oh, wow.
They just start riding.
Where did the magical boat come from?
Avalon.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
So where the rookery was, and that's how he found his long lost daughter. But I can see why that kind of like
it sounds like a different show you're talking about.
Right. So they're finally back in New York is where we stopped. So I don't know how much we'll get on it now that spring break's over. But Kiddo was still enjoying. He was still getting a kick out of it and all that. But it was like that kind of like that feeling of like these kind of feel like the same episode, just with different characters. They come in, there's a problem. They've got to learn something either from their past or how they are. They have to change and grow.
Well, we were experiencing that even with Thundercats, where they got a little monotonous for a little while.
Yeah.
And, they're easy enough to do that when you have only so much character development.
Yeah.
Really.
And I wonder what'll happen, because season 3 is actually, even from the creator, not canon in his head. They become the Goliath Chronicles.
Oh, okay.
So I'm curious to see where that goes, because I've never seen the Goliath Chronicles. Or if I have, it's a one-off here or there, right? Because it became really hard to view up here. So that's one thing that is cool with Disney Plus. We've got all these Disney afternoon cartoons we can check out.
Yeah.
So
NECA's are going to bring out Gargoyle.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. That was a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that drop to hit. Goliath is dropping. And they even ended up saying that they're going to have a whole line. So I'm curious to see. They have 5 figures ready to show. So they only dropped Goliath for pre-order. And then they're actually stopped pre-orders.
Yeah, they oversold them. Worrying about overselling things.
Yeah,
right?
the demand is so high that they're stopping pre-order sales and they've asked like other retailers to stop as well. So I'm curious to see, and then how they're going to drop the other figures. Are they going to drop them one off at a time like this? Because that'd be kind of cool. Help people kind of spend some money, but are they going to drop them in a wave or what?
Yeah.
But they have 5 ready to show, they said. So
that's pretty cool.
And that's not the clan fully, right? You got Brooklyn, Hudson,
Bronx,
Broadway, and Lexington. I guess that'd be 5.
Yeah, 1, 2, yeah.
But then you have, of course,
6.
Yeah, Bronx I doubt will get made.
Yeah. I can see him like being with someone or something.
Yeah,
right?
deluxe pack with Hudson would be
and then
pretty
we would
cool.
need Demona still, right?
Demona and Xanatos.
Still don't have everyone. Yeah.
I'd be curious to see how deep they get into that line.
Yeah. I'm assuming they would bring Demona out only because then you have that opposition feel, right?
Yeah.
And Hudson maybe, because he would be pretty badass.
Yeah, he could.
So
totally. So that's pretty cool. But that's the thing that's cool with Disney Plus is they've got so many things from your past that you can watch, and at least for the most part, Gargoyles has held up. It's definitely not a kids cartoon, and it is further proof that the animation is a medium, not a genre. That this is a cartoon that was pitched to be, because like some of I actually was starting to find some of these episodes kind of boring. Like Mikado was all enthralled, they're dramatic. Yeah. It's kind of like going back to how the original Batman the Animated Series was. It was dramatic.
It's very dramatic. Yeah, it was interesting when I've gone back and watched some of those. You don't realize actually how how dry some of them actually can be.
Yeah.
And more about the emotions and the feeling and the ambiance of it than anything else.
Right. So that's what's interesting. And it shows that you could still potentially have a decent layered story without, still being family orientated. Mm-hmm. So we did talk about, because we're getting close to the end of Thundercats.
Yeah.
And we're still looking at trying to figure out how to get the reboot eventually. But I think we're down to...
For which? Thundercats, the original?
Thundercats, yeah, the original. I think we're only like 20 episodes left.
Oh, well, okay.
I think, not even. So
my biggest concern right now, and maybe people have an input on this, let us know, is the creation of New Thundera.
It makes no sense.
I'm confused. Like it just kind of happened, and I thought originally the feeling that I thought was happening was that Mum-Ra was undoing time, basically, right? So I thought he was like starting to build bits of Thundera back enough to find it, right?
That's what he's doing.
Okay. Why is it that it's like created this planet? It also doesn't seem like it has atmosphere. A lot of it is actually back. Where did the Snarfs come from?
Yeah, the Snarfs came back, but no other
other living beings or anything else on there. And it seems relatively complete.
There's ruins. There's ruins. Not.
I'm very confused about it. It doesn't really make sense. And I think it's hilarious how quickly they can just hop on over there.
Just a jaunt over through inner space. Jaunt.
And when how long it took them to get there originally.
Yeah, right.
They were all, in hyper chambers and everything, but whatever. So I'm confused about that.
Kids sci-fi logic.
Oh yeah. It's difficult.
It is.
But it's so funny too with Mum-Ra how dependent he is on the dog now.
Mama?
Like he is a huge part of this
he does everything for him now. Where did they didn't explain where?
And where does Mama come from? He just showed up.
Yeah, he just showed up. Yeah. It was just like, oh, Mama.
Like, oh yes, my long lost dog.
Yep. And why is it that all the Snarfs are an egg or an Oz?
Yes. And I don't know what they actually are substituting Snarf for. They are Snarfs. They are named Snarf. They use Snarf in every other word is Snarf.
They're in Snarf Valley. They just
sing Snarf. They talk. They were walking along just saying Snarf.
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
Maybe no one knows. Maybe they're that weird of a creature that no one knows exactly what it is.
So today's episode was pretty fantastic. Mum-Ra was a fly. It was Mum-Fly. And it was hilarious. Because the little fly had mummy wraps on him and everything. Yeah. Like, he looked just like a fly version of
a mummified fly.
It was a mummified fly. And a fly. I did the same thing. Yeah.
Mummified fly.
That is a tongue
twister. Mummified fly. There you go. Try that on the bus. 5 times fast.
Start saying that, yeah.
Mummified fly. Mummified fly.
Mummified fly.
Yeah, do that.
So that was interesting to see. But those are my few complaints on it. So overall, though, I still really enjoy it.
Yeah, it is definitely like I enjoy those first half of the first season so much more, and then that's where I remember from my childhood being. Mm-hmm. And so then like the longer it goes on, the more I'm kind of like, okay, it's getting a little.
Mum-Ra's getting a little old, only because. He doesn't ever actually... They're never stopping him doing something bad. They're only just defending themselves. Because all he does is try to get rid of the Thundercats.
Yeah.
Versus I'm going to go and pollute this over here. Mm-hmm. And going to try to bring this to life to kill this. All he's doing now is just trying to defeat the Thundercats. Yeah. So I miss them stopping him from doing something bad.
Things. Yeah.
Because it's like his whole purpose now is just to defeat the Thundercats. Rather than he says, well, now once I defeat them, then I will be able to rule. But do you even know how you're going to do that now?
Yeah.
What evil are you?
He's too reliant on finding the lost treasures of Thundera.
Yes.
That are hoping to destroy the Thundercats.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the evil spirits have suddenly gained more sentience and power, and they're more demanding of him. Yeah. He seems a lot less in control and a lot more like a puppet now.
Yeah.
So the dynamic has changed.
So, true.
So, yeah. There was our Thundercats recap.
Right? Yeah, you haven't had the Thundercats for a while.
Yeah. So what else we watch?
So, actually, I'm gonna step back. The NECA gargoyle thing, though. The Goliath looks fantastic because they took a stylized look. It's more of a
cartoony look.
No, it's
more real feeling.
Real
Yes.
looking, right? So that'll be cool to see.
He's huge.
It's going to be a 8-inch figure.
16-inch wingspan?
Yes. So the wings are supposed to be able to bend out to 16 inches from...
If he'll stand at 16 inches, extended out would be one thing, but...
So that's pretty epic. I'd always thought that Super 7 was going to get the line because they've been doing so many nostalgia lines.
Seems like everyone thought Super 7 was going to get the line.
I've seen a lot of people online that were like, wow, I didn't expect this just because of the body type and stuff like that. Yeah. I full on expected them to be using that Thundercat body feel. Like it just seemed like, the perfect thing.
Yeah.
And just even I was looking at them and I was like, you know what? The plastic and stuff just seems more to give that nostalgia vibe. So I'm curious to see, because Super 7 still said they had a huge summer release that was going to be ready to pre-order right off the bat. So I'm curious to see what license that is because they said in an interview that it was a license that fans feel like they've been forgotten about. Oh, okay. So I don't know. There's so many of them. Who knows? It could be Captain Planet for all we know.
You never know.
Who knows? My Thundercats is one of those licenses that I want to see on this figure because I'd love to be able to have a few of them. Yeah. What did I say? Thundercats? You said Thundercats. I said Thundercats. We're getting Thundercats. Well, no. Yeah. Okay. Let's just.
Mike's overwhelmed with the things that he wants.
Gargoyles. That's what it was originally supposed to say. Gargoyles was one of those lines that I want something from. I have the pop and all that, but I still would love to have it. If anything, I'm going to get Goliath. Yeah. Goliath is going to be at least that one because that one will go the best with just
he's the most iconic one.
Yeah, right. And
I expect him to be high up on a shelf somewhere.
He's going to have to be. I'm going to have to figure out how to hang him from a ceiling.
Yes. That's fabulous. Anyways.
But biker mice, that's a line that I would like to see.
Please, someone make biker mice so I can stop listening to Mike say how much he wants biker mice.
It would just be really cool.
I know you're trying to envision it into existence. I can't remember the word.
Well, there's those few things that you remember from childhood that you like because I got my Toxies, so I'm super stoked that I have at least something from Toxic Crusaders again, right? Yeah. I still would love if Super 7 was able to make a couple of the other ones. Like Junkyard, I would love that one. The big dog with a big tongue. That thing is amazing. Or the No Zone one. I love the No Zone one. The airplane dude. He had the pilot and he had the wheel for a foot. Oh, okay. But Biker Mice is just one of those licenses that was on par with Turtles. Because it was just these alien, they come... because their planet was destroyed and they were bikers, but yet they were fighting against pollution too, right? Which made no sense because they were, in
a weird, environmental crusade at one point, and then everyone was like, no, we're done.
Oh, wait, well, you think about the 90s cartoons. Toxic Crusaders was a very environmentalist cartoon. Yeah. It was the big businessman, the alien guys that came down to Earth that were polluting Tromaville. Yeah. Right? And the Toxic Crusaders were all from that pollution, so that they were then fighting against them, right? So they're all mutants from that. Then you had...
Which is interesting at the same time because they're fighting against the thing that created them. So...
Because they don't want other people to get mutated, right? Yeah. Right? And don't have to live... They, don't have to live and be...
Gotcha.
Freaks and, Yeah. Then Biker Mice, they fought against... those guys too, right? The same kind of idea. Then you have your Captain Planets and all that kind of thing, right? So the 90s really had a lot of environmental cartoons. Yeah. And they spoke to our generation, and then we just said, whatever. I'm going to do what I want.
Maybe some of those people did actually, but then still the older people are still the ones in charge.
Maybe. But yeah, Biker Mice I think would be really cool to see. Yeah. So hope that someone does that one. But there's so many licenses out there that have forgotten toys that, I see people want. They want the Tiger Sharks and they want the Street Sharks and, there's so many things out there. And then that's when you start realizing, you're like, damn, there was a lot of cartoons. There's a lot of cartoons I didn't watch. Yeah. Right? Like I've got my set of like nostalgia.
So one of the toys that I had a lot of when I was young was Polly Pocket. Like that was the thing that other than Barbies, like you could always count on Polly Pocket or My Littlest Pet Shop when they were cool. Not like weird shaped creatures when they actually looked like animals, for like birthday parties, right? And so the other day I found on the Sailor Moon store on Instagram had posted a Sailor Moon Polly Pocket.
Nice.
And it was just the coolest thing ever because it looked like Usagi's room, and it had her little bed with the cool comforter, and it came with a little Luna and a Polly Pocket looking Sailor Moon, and it was pretty awesome. I was like, this is like a perfect like blend of old and now. This is awesome.
That's fantastic.
But you know what, honestly, I think I'm sad that I got rid of all of My Littlest Pet Shops. I had zero reason to keep them. But I had a full one of those cases, and it looked like a giant pet store from the outside. Mm-hmm. The thing was probably, a good 10 inches tall, and it was huge. Yeah. And it opened up big, because, that was a big thing. You always had to have a case to carry all of your things in, right? So it was a big case that opened up, and then there was a bunch of compartments in there that you could store all the different groupings of the animals, right?
Yeah.
And the only ones I kept were ones that became Barbie pets. And like the dogs and everything, I would just migrate over to my Barbies.
Oh, okay.
But I had, you have all the different types of creatures, but it was fun because like the dogs would have like toys that they had magnets in the toy, in the dog and the toys, so then they would play together. Or then like the babies would have magnets, so they would stick onto the mom animals, and like and the bunnies and carrots would go together, and like all sorts of things, right? Yeah. So I had so many of these animals, and they were so cool because they actually looked like, they were cartoony, but they looked more in scale of the actual ones. And now they're just like weird bulbous heads, and
they're super stylized.
They're stylized, which I understand they had to change the brand, and that became stylized. The stylized big head, big eyes became the thing now, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a big thing for me. That was my childhood. Mainly Barbies, though. That was my life. And then I was playing. I had Lego and Connects with my brother, right? So
just think, if I hadn't had to have sold all that stuff, I wouldn't be rebuying all this stuff. If I had been able to give them the chance.
So lesson learned is you should never ever give up anything. That's what apparently we're going to teach kiddo, is going to like hoard things. No, he already gives up stuff faster now than... Yeah,
no, well, don't have someone take something from you.
Oh yeah,
that's the lesson here, kids. Mm-hmm. Is don't let people take it away from you. Because all that stuff was stuff that was sold on me to pay bills from things like
my Barbies. I slowly got rid of, and I felt bad for needing to hold on to them because there were so many. I had bins and bins of clothes and furniture. And I did want it. That Barbies are one thing. They weren't collectible. I still have some of my collectible Barbies, but stuff like that, they should be played with. So I'm okay that I donated and we sold stuff and everything. Like I still have a few Barbies that were a little bit my later end ones that I got, and I still kept some of the because my grandma used to crochet dresses and everything, but they're just so different now than they used to be. So I love looking back at the old like posts on Instagram where you can find the old retro Barbies, and I get so sucked into it because I look at everything. I'm like, oh, there's that and there's that, and it's like, oh, that outfit was supposed to go together. I remember I had this and this. I didn't realize they were together. Yeah. Because so much of it was inherited, or then you collect stuff from playing with your friends, and all of a sudden you have this clothing in there that you didn't know where it came from. So you stole things from other people. Apparently, I don't know.
Okay,
maybe where it came from. We just swapped without realizing it. But a lot of it was my sister's, right? But yeah, that's super fun to go back and find some of those pieces, right? Yeah. And see how they originally came on the original doll, or seeing the actual Barbie and realizing, okay, well, I never knew that they were a set or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And now they're every Barbie almost has to have so many accessories, even if they're like little plastic things. Like they're very specific in there. There's not just a Barbie. It's like, this Barbie is this. Yeah. And while I love so much of the Barbie you can be anything. I love the push and the advertisement and the idea behind that. But sometimes I wish there was just Barbie and then more clothes for things. So then you really can have the creative aspect of things and not just like, you can be anything that Barbie tells you can be.
Yeah. You're not just buying the accessories that fit the current Barbie you have. You have to buy a specific Barbie.
I don't think it will have the staying power with children as it did for me. I mean, I had a hard time as an adult getting rid of my Barbies, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So anyways, now that was a flashback on that one. So
yeah. Speaking of flashbacks, so Disney has decided to reinvigorate. It's not even a reimagining or a reboot. It's literally a sequel to the Mighty Ducks franchise. So the Mighty Ducks Game Changers, the first episode came out last week. And I loved that movie as a kid, the hockey aspect, and then the fact that it spun off an NHL team and all that. So the new show has hit, and it's so many years later. The Ducks have now become a powerhouse hockey team in their super serious. They basically become the Hawks. Yeah. If you remember the movies at all. And it's the whole idea that the kid gets cut from the team, and now the mom's going to go help create a new team. Now,
the Don't Bothers.
Yeah, the Don't Bothers. Yeah, you know one thing though was the show was funny. The show was good. Like I had a good time watching it. I'm still not 100% sold on the Ducks being the bad guys, right? Yeah. Like I
curious to see how that will turn around.
Yeah, because
how are they going to?
All three movies, you were like cheering for the Ducks. Like now we're supposed to be cheering for the Don't Bothers.
We don't cheer for the Ducks in real life, so why should we cheer for them now? It's just mirroring real life, and it's not okay.
No, in the show they're winning, so they're winners.
True. Yeah. Okay.
But it's that idea though. It's like so I'm gonna have to watch more. Like I'm curious to see where this show is gonna go, but like I'm like optimistically like.
I really did enjoy it. There a lot happened, and I like the concept of what they're trying to do, and I love her standing up to the seriousness of the hockey of the. I mean, this one mom had brought a sports psychologist to their,
and a trainer.
In a trainer to their practice.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my goodness, this is crazy.
Right.
And why can't
is everyone obsessed with protein?
Right. And it is interesting because there's a happy medium in there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But that there's so many places out there that are like that.
Well, Well, it's even when we moved up here in Kiddo, we were looking at hockey and all that, and I said someone about doing hockey, and because he was interested in it, and I was like, well, I wouldn't bother because if he hasn't been playing for a long time, he's not going to get on. And then he found that like they needed to go to clinics that were already sold out during the summer before they could even try out. And it's like, so how do you get into it? You have to get into it when you're 5 and you're starting to skate and you just are grandfathered into the system basically. Right. I did love though that she literally said you all have hopes that they're going to get into the NHL, but 0 of these kids will make it.
Yep.
And I was like, that is fantastic because it's amazing how true it is, right?
Yeah, they think that everyone can be in the NHL.
Yeah.
And it's like the small population
10%
of children
or something.
Well, because
5%,
too is that idea that you're competing around the whole world.
Not just
It's not just North America.
Yeah. But yeah, the idea that there almost needs to be, and then it's like, oh, well, if you just want to play for fun, you just got to get your friends together. Well, it's hard to get friends together and stuff like that. Like, there needs to be the beer league for the kids then that are just there to have casual fun. Who cares if you win or lose? You just, Well,
that's something that is interesting is they have stuff like that for the adults. So why can't they have something like that for kids?
It's a liability, I guess.
That the idea that they're just having more fun stuff, but then they're in a safe, controlled environment versus let's go play out on the rink or something like a pond or something like that, right? But yeah, there's so I don't know. It was definitely overwhelming feeling we wouldn't be able to get involved with it at all.
Yeah, because he was excited to try when we got up here, but then everything was like, nope, you don't have enough experience.
Yep.
Right, and it's just like. Damn, like...
Yeah.
When we moved up, he was only 8 or 9?
Yeah.
8?
He was 8.
And I was like, okay. So, But that's, I think, there's a good commentary on it, that it's the idea that it's the ragtag, it's the bad news bears feel. Like, it is like the original Ducks, but it's just they're not called the Ducks, so I'll be curious to see. But I did like, though, I think it was hilarious, though, is that they introduced Gordon Bombay. Emilio's back. Emilio is back as Bombay, but it was like completely the Last Jedi Luke Skywalker.
Oh, totally.
You know, the stale cake, the
why are you talking to me about something that I've just disowned?
Doesn't exist. Like, look at the wall, no hockey.
Yep.
You know, like it was totally and then at the end of it, he's like, okay, fine. You know, I'll show you something. Yeah. Right. So I thought it was hilarious because it was literally the Last Jedi. Yeah. Old Luke coming in all grumpy and gruff and hateful and
trying to save something.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, I like that. I think it'll be interesting to see. It is weird to see where they'll take it. You know, if the Ducks will continue to be the problem. You can see some of the cracks already trying to break with that idea. And I hope that it's going to be maybe some of the kids realizing to stand up against some of that.
Stand up against their parents pushing them? Because like that one girl had knee problems already and she's like 12.
Like 12, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, but it was definitely fun.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to watching it. Like, it'll be cool. You know, it's definitely something to look at. Like, it's fun to see hockey again.
Yeah, that alone, right? And then something that can be enjoyed as a family with it wasn't being ridiculous and silly. It was still something we could laugh and enjoy. Yeah, because then you see the parent aspect. Yeah. So for us, it spoke to, you know, the worries and concerns that you have as a parent about not doing enough, but also, you know, trying to be there for them and all that sort of stuff. So because I liked Bombay talking about the fact that you're doing everything for your son, so he's never going to grow up. And, you know, and so that all of that commentary is great for us, right? So.
No, yeah. Totally worth it to watch. Disney Plus also, the second episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier dropped. There was a lot of humor. We got to get the 90s buddy cop kind of feel.
We got more banter, which was a huge added bonus.
Kind of amped it up. And got to see the new Captain America in action and all that.
John Walker, I think it was, right?
So, still a dick.
He you know, at first it kind of was like, okay, he's not too bad. He's going to be pretty good, you know, and no, he's still a little self-righteous and thinks he's the best.
By the end of that episode, it was the idea that no, stay out of my way. If you're not with me, you're against me. Yeah. Right. And so I'm really curious to see where it's going to go. You know, Anthony Mackie definitely is channeling all the best parts of Will Smith through the 90s.
Totally. Every time he talked, I'm like, this is Will Smith right there.
Right? You can see that idea, that feeling.
It's like Men in Black.
Yeah.
Between the two of them.
Yeah.
You know, where he just, you know, because Bucky just stares. Does he stare all the time? Yeah, you get used to it.
Right.
But yeah, so that one definitely had more humor, so that was a better hook for things, at least.
But it's still kind of fizzled by the end of the episode.
But it's still dry.
Like, I know the idea was like Zemo, and it was like you're supposed to remember Zemo, and like
Kiddo, we found out, does not remember Zemo or Civil War. No, it's like, oh, good gracious.
Yeah, that was a little bit, but you know, it's chugging along at a good pace. Still, like I still think that this would have been one of those series that maybe as a like WandaVision, because it was so quick, maybe that's why I was like each week was like, yeah, woo woo, right? And then like this one feels more like it almost should just be a binge series because it feels more like a movie.
Right? Yeah.
And I'm kind of getting those moments where I'm getting itchy for the next one because I'm waiting for like that big like hook reveal of like, you know, I haven't had the episode yet that like at the end of it something happens and I'm just like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Next time, you know.
Well, because we're learning more about the bad guy and but right now it's a little too much of like.
There's so much going on with so many characters. You got the super soldiers, you got the new Captain America, you got, you know, Bucky and Falcon trying to work out their shit, and you know,
quite honestly, with the little therapy session they had together, that was quite funny. But Falcon definitely has some stuff that he needs to work on. That he is stifling and very much like, you know, screw this, I don't have time for this, and he needs to work through some of his emotional problems for sure.
Oh, so totally.
That was interesting to see.
Yeah. So, but it's a good show. It's well put together. So I'm excited to keep going on that.
Mm-hmm. What was next on our watching?
So we did actually watch a movie. Have you guessed it yet? Have you figured it out? Did you go back and find the title card and think what it is? I'll let you think and simmer on that for a moment. It came out like 14 years ago, so it's like an odd yay moment. But it is TMNT.
Mm-hmm.
It is actually called TMNT.
Yeah.
It is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 2007.
Yes.
So, what it is it is the first time were in CG. It was an animated movie, written and directed by Kevin Monroe, and it was to serve as an unofficial sequel to the original 90s movies.
Oh, okay.
Right? It was kind of like the continuation of those films. And you can really see that with how the voice actors portrayed the turtles.
Yeah.
Like you can hear clearly like the gruff Raph and the surfer Mike, right? So but I've been meaning to show this to Kiddo, and I don't know why it would just slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
But it showed up on Netflix, and I was like, hey, let's
Take advantage
do this.
of it, right?
We were like trying to figure out something to watch on the weekend there, and yeah, so we threw that in or streamed that. And
I didn't I know I had watched it before with you, and I didn't really remember it too much. But I really enjoyed it. Like some of the shots were really epic feeling, and the action was really awesome. Mm-hmm. I like the story. I like that it just threw you right into it, and you didn't have to get this big huge explanation and understanding about them. It did feel like it was a sequel, but I liked seeing, April and Casey grown up and trying to do, be a little bit more in the normal world feel, and the emotional development there of Raph and Leo working together, and having such a problem, and then that struggle was it was quite mature feeling. Mm-hmm. But it was really artfully done, and as I say, it was so pretty. Like,
there's tons of fantastic shots in that film.
Yeah, like I really
understood. I think really understood the ninja aspect.
Yeah.
Of the turtles,
both with the action and the loyalty and the training and the discipline.
Yeah,
all of that really came through.
Yeah, and through the action scenes, you really saw those. Yeah. Like the framing and stuff like that with the action.
Yeah.
And how the camera work was done with the animation and everything. Like, and you got to see what potentially a 90s turtle movie would look like if it was made today with that style. Mm-hmm. Right? Because the flipping and the sliding, like, you can see all that. Yeah. But that's the thing that's nice about it is that the turtles aren't ornate. They're very simplistic. They just have the basics,
like they should be, right?
So it's the idea of watching that and seeing where all the missteps were taken when they decided to reboot it with Michael Bay and all that. It's just that constant reminder that simplicity with the turtles is the best. It's their personalities that should be able to shine, not what they're wearing.
Yes.
Right? They don't need gizmos and gadgets to be cool.
What needs to be is more of what they actually are doing.
Yeah.
And their weapons in general too, and everything. The only one that should have any gadgets is Donnie, but it's still very, very limited. And
anytime he has gadgets, it's usually to help the team. It's not self-service, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of that feeling.
Yeah.
But, there's the adult humor in there, like when Donnie's got his job and he's like, no, it's not that kind of line, sir.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
we laughed, and I was like, I hope Kiddo doesn't ask like why we laughed about that.
Yeah. And, and you had Mikey as Cowabunga Carl doing pizza parties. I have nightmares of birthdays.
It was like a pinata. Yeah. I saw that and I was like, oh my God, what is wrong with these parents that are just like, yeah, go ahead and beat the party guy.
Right. But it's a really fun movie, and Kiddo really liked it. That's the kind of live action turtles I want to see.
Yeah,
I want to see that movement, that style of action, and I'm glad that it still holds up. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it and had fun with it because, it's sad that didn't get its sequels like it was planned, because they had planned sequels where they were going to fight, the Shredder was going to come back, and they were also going to bring the Krang and the Triceratrons in and all that cool. in the sequels. So, hopefully one day we get to see more live action like that. I'm curious to see, because we're already waiting for like the 9th iteration of the Turtles. Yeah, Seth Rogen has signed on to bring them, and another CG movie. So we'll see where they go. But yeah, TMNT, it's on Netflix. If you need some turtly good times, it's totally worth it. Oh, the other thing that's interesting is that the reason why I didn't get the sequels, here I'll backtrack. The reason why I didn't get the sequels was because it didn't make its budget back as well as they would like, even though it was the number one movie of that weekend. At the time, it was only like 24 million. It had a higher budget than that. But the reason why the budget was higher was because when the studio had originally made it, it was done with voice actors. So it's only like were known voice actors in the movie. But then when the Warner Brothers and the Weinsteins got involved in it, they wanted some star power. So they recast a few roles. Brought in some more star power. Sarah Michelle Gellar was April. At the time, Chris Evans was Casey. And then Patrick Stewart played the villain, right? Yeah. And then they brought in Lawrence Fishburne for that opening. The opening that made it sound like The Matrix? Yeah. It was awesome. So they brought in some extra. That kind of blew in the budget a little bit, because then they had double duty on. Right? Yeah. So you wonder what it would have done if it had just stuck with the original voice actors, right? Yep. So you had a funny moment, though, because one of the voice actors has TMNT lineage. Yeah, so Kevin Michael Richardson showed up as one of the generals for the bad guy. Yeah. And so here he is talking, and he ends up turning around and trying to give orders to the Foot Clan, and it was just funny to hear him talking to the Foot Clan in his what sounds like Shredder from 2012. Yeah, and because Kevin Michael Richardson played the Shredder in that, right? So it was just like it was funny to hear him, like he's just so ingrained in there. It was just like, oh, it's the Shredder talking. Yeah, no, it's not. Right there. No, it's not. Well, even that character was interesting. He even looked like the Shredder. Yeah, he felt like him, right? So it's like, did they see that and then be like, hey, you know what? Do you think you could be the Shredder? Yeah. So we're gonna go with that, because that's what it feels like right there. Speaking of which, 2012 is an amazing series, and you should go watch it if we haven't already told you that enough. Yeah. So because especially things like Kevin Michael Richardson as a Shredder. Beautiful. Yep. Yeah. 2012 Turtles, one of the best things ever. Yep. So that is the family portion of the episode. Yeah. Pretty much. From there, I'd seen this thing on Netflix. It was called The Last Blockbuster. It wasn't actually made by Netflix. It was a documentary. It was on there. And it's a whole story about like how Blockbuster rose and crashed, and the fact that there's one left in Bend, Oregon. And any time it comes to movie history and stuff like that, I'm always interested, especially in some of those industries, because I didn't know how Blockbuster really started either. So it was very interesting to watch that, and you hear about how it rose to power. I learned a lot, and like there's a lot of information in there, and I thought it was really cool to see. And then you hear about all the bad decisions that were made that led to its follies and all that. Big and bloated and full of corporate greed. Yeah. Quite honestly, it got too heavy for itself, right? Yeah, yeah. And it's one of those things where you think back, and I was like, when I was watching it too, I was thinking back all the times and all the experiences just myself about renting and all that, and those moments where I do miss renting. Me too. I do miss going into a store. You go in and you browse and you find what's new or you find what's old, and sure we have streaming, but we have to have so many streaming
services
to get everything now, and you're it's all bloated, and you've got
it's like, well, I have to watch enough to make it worth it for this, and you have to have such a heavy internet presence as well.
Yeah, because Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon, our cable provider, which gives us our HBO stuff.
Yeah.
You all these, and then there's, of course, like in the States, there's Hulu, and there's now there's Apple, and there's Pico, or there's Paramount Plus, and the HBO Max too, and then like there's so many that you have to get, and then that it's just ballooning out of control, right? It's like, I keep thinking of like the Yoda when he's like, the Clone Wars have begun, and I know
the streaming war has begun,
right? Like, it's begun a while ago, but it's like continuing, and I don't think anyone's winning. Yeah, right. And the interesting fact with that documentary, though, was it wasn't streaming that killed Netflix. Killed Blockbuster. It was its own stupidity,
because it was dying way before streaming became readily available, right? Because Netflix, the little if anyone remembers the little I'm assuming at the age we all are, pretty much, we remember the little vending machines of Netflix. I never understood that stuff originally, right? Where you had
kind of like Redbox, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. Redbox was that, right? Yeah, pretty much, right.
And then, but you also could get it mailed directly to you.
Yeah,
right?
And so that was such a weird concept that you would go but you'd have to wait for it, right? Yeah, and so that was always strange to me, but that was really what started changing things up, because then you could have it all over town for different things, right? But that all that stuff started dying way before streaming was a thing. Yeah. So this definitely, made more sense that basically Netflix took advantage of the fact that now there was a hole in the market. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that makes more sense. The thing that
talked was they had the capital to do it.
Yeah. Well, they've pushed too. They're in a little interesting situation. They financially are a little strained for things, but I think, it sounds bad, but the pandemic has definitely been in their favor for things, because they were coming up. I remember reading an article. They were coming up on a lot of expired things, and they didn't really have the ability to keep going on too much. Like, they were going to be in a bit of a risky situation. Yeah. But I think now there's a lot more of a guarantee.
But that's the problem.
And they've gotten
every studio now is making their own streaming. So now licensing is ending, and that stuff's reverting back to the original licensees. Yeah.
So then now Netflix have to keep pushing on doing their original
content, which then costs more money.
Exactly.
Right. And that's the problem, is that you most likely will see Netflix go. Yeah. And then we'll miss those days where we didn't have to have 12.
Or it'll be Netflix just the same as the HBO, where it's like, it's the Netflix original movies. And so you're still going to have all these different places. But then it's an issue is for international people. You know, for us, we're already more limited in the stuff that we are dependent on other people getting different things too, right? So it is interesting, but you and me, we have a lot of fond memories of Blockbuster.
Yeah, Blockbuster is a lot of fun.
One of the things I remember was really, really helpful for us that we got to watch is renting the TV series discs. Like, we watched a lot of HBO stuff and other TVs because we could go rent discs there. Yeah. And that was a big thing for us. Like, we started watching True Blood because of that. There was
we watched everything.
Yes.
Like, that's how we didn't have cable back in the day.
Yes.
Everything was DVD. Blockbuster was our jam. Yeah. We go down and we, rent on the weekend, and
so we watched TV that way. You know, I remember that's how I watched my private practice.
Because you'd get a disc. Yeah. I don't know if, and there'd be like, 6 episodes on a disc. You'd be like, hey, they're going to make this last for the week. Yeah. Right. We'll rent our movies for the weekend, and we got our single disc for the week. Yeah. And then we go back and,
And it was always such a great, event for us almost, where we'd go and find whatever we wanted to look for. And, and for me too, I grew up not going to Blockbuster. Blockbuster was across town. It was the fancy movie rental place, but it wasn't nearby. Right. So we had one that was it was a really nice one. But it hadn't been taken out by Blockbuster because it was, and, but it was so fun because you'd go over there and then you'd have those random moments where like, I really want to watch this movie. I wonder if they have it. Most of the time they did, you know? And it was that almost, you know, the same kind of feel that you would get from like looking for a toy feel, right? Where it's like the hunt of being like, okay, well, I got to find this. And it's so frustrating now that if you can't find it on streaming, you're not going to get it. No. Like there's no way you can get it.
No. And unless you find it on YouTube. Yeah. And then it can be pieced together sometimes or cut. Or...
Yeah. And, you know, or just wandering around and just seeing some of those weird ones. It's just so much different than just.
I think we watch less movies now, probably because we're adults too, but because it can be more overwhelming with all the streaming choices.
Yes.
So it can get harder to actually pick something versus like before when you'd go through and you'd be like, you picked it. You had to, because you don't
had to commit to it.
Spend an hour browsing a video store.
Yeah. You're like, okay, I'm going to spend 15 minutes here. I want to find something.
I've got so much time.
I grabbed a couple maybe different things and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the one thing that was interesting though is like, you know, here we had quite a few. Like there was one Blockbuster that was in one location and it closed. Mm-hmm. And then a Rogers Video took over.
Oh yeah,
that location. And
there was 3 Blockbusters in town here, wasn't there? Originally,
2.
Oh, okay. I thought there was 3. Mm-hmm.
There was 2.
Okay.
And this is way back in the day. This is still like early days.
Yeah.
And then we had something called the video station too, right?
Yeah.
So now saying let's see, there's a streaming, you got to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
But to get a rental card, you didn't have to pay shit.
Yeah.
So to have a rental card at Blockbuster, Video Station, and Rogers didn't cost you anything.
And you could just at least look and then make your decision from there.
And then you paid from there, right?
Yeah.
And that was something that was interesting.
Right now we just pay for the privilege of looking.
Right? Browsing. And it's like your gym membership. They hope you don't use it.
Yes, exactly.
Right? They hope you don't use it. So you're just paying them to not stream anything.
Yeah.
Right? Because the streaming is the strain on the system.
Yeah.
But there was a moment in this documentary that had Lloyd Kaufman that just like, I have nothing good to talk about Blockbuster because they didn't carry my movies.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing. Blockbuster was trying to be wholesome. They're trying to be family oriented. They didn't have a back room for porn or anything like that, right? That was what made their module okay to be able to franchise in corporate.
Yes, because you'd never be able to franchise that.
But like, so Lloyd Kaufman's stuff, his trauma stuff, was the C movies, right? It was the guys that were just out there making movies, doing practical effects, just making gory, bloody,
your favorite
over sexualized things. But you know, Toxic Avenger, right? And you know, Kabuki Man and things like that, like these weird ass Romeo and Juliet. But Blockbuster didn't have those, right? And that when I was like trying to think about when I'm watching, I was like, hey, where did I go to rent that? And I was like, it was at Rogers Video and not Video Tonight. That was another one that was here.
Oh wow.
Video Station, right? And those were before DVD that I watched those. Those were on VHS.
VHS, yeah.
Like, you know, that was something else because you used to also be able to like Video Station, they used to do the whole 5 for 5 for 7, right? 5 movies, $5, 7 days.
Oh, okay.
Right? And like that was like, that was heaven.
You got to think then people aren't going to grow up having that same feeling that you would have done. So like, are people really going to find movies anymore? Because, you know, we stream through Netflix and
it tells you.
The same movie can be in 5 different categories opposed to in a movie store, it's like, okay, I want to watch a comedy. I'm only going to see comedies. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to find the same movie placed in 10 different places in the store.
Or like even like horror movies, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know, but now too with all the originals, I think the original stuff also then cuts down on any streaming service, cuts down finding some of those classics.
Yes.
Right? And, you know, yeah, exactly. Like, and then a lot of streaming services now are getting tailored, just like your advertising on your social media, where it's like, you know, you need to.
Well, you've watched this, so now you should watch this. It's constantly giving us recommendations, right?
And versus before, you either got recommendations from people that work there, or you would just go in and you just be like, you know, like back in the day, like that was the thing. I was always wanted to be in movies. I always wanted to be that, and you know. life decided that it wasn't going to happen. So I got into watching a lot of movies, and then I lived where we didn't have cable.
Mm-hmm.
We had an antenna.
Yeah.
But we had a VCR.
Yeah.
And we had these video rental places that a lot of them did with the old stuff. You get so many for so long for a cheap price, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you go down and you'd go into a section and you'd just be like...
Just load up on things.
Load up. Each Friday or Thursday night.
Yeah.
Usually it was Thursday because I didn't... So you were ready for Friday.
Yeah.
Right? You go...
Well, see, and too, what happens... Not everyone has super fast internet that can deal with all the streaming, too. So in your case, in that instance up there, where you live now, who knows what kind of internet they might have right now. So then now you won't have that option. Right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, that is, I think, a failing for sure.
Right. And I
I remember, I don't know why, but it still sticks with me. One of the times because when I was able to start driving, was Fast and Furious was still there, was a big thing for me. Right. And I remember so specifically that I was like, one night I had this, like, I need to watch Fast and the Furious again.
Yeah.
So badly. And I was able to run over there in driving too fast. Sorry, guys. And be able to go and get that right away, and it was just like, it was a fun experience to kind of have the ability of like, okay, can I go and find this movie type thing, rather than like, oh, okay, let me just like click it on here and just find it type thing,
And now you can like we speak to your remote.
I can just tell it to tell me to play Fast and Furious, right? And until one day it's not on there and it's like, nope, you don't get to watch this.
Yeah.
Because the license expired or something, right?
And you can only get it on Universal Plus or something.
Yeah.
But that's not available in your country.
So, just things like that where, you have those moments and, I don't know, it's a weird thing knowing how much the world has changed since we were young.
Yeah.
It hasn't even been that long, right? So,
well, that's why
Kiddo has never seen a rental place.
He has. He just doesn't remember it because he was too tiny to remember.
He was like 2, so.
I have so many fond memories, like with going with my buddies, and like you go and you'd find the grossest looking cover. Yeah. Like that art. And you'd be like,
what the hell is this?
Right? You're like, this looks amazing. The other thing that was
amazing was being able to rent video games.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That is a loss for sure. Yeah.
I don't think the systems would handle rentals now because you got to download it on your system and all that. But yes, I love being able to try something and before you buy it, right? Yeah. That idea where it's like you go ahead and you try something like, nope, this is not my jam. I don't like the controls. I don't like how it's played. Take it back, right? Yeah.
Just
that was something that I do miss, right? Or those ones where you're like, it was basically the trying, like, because I play so many less video games now because I can't rent anything, right?
But I think that's what I miss is I miss the TV aspect for things. But I mean, now it's easy enough to find things. But it's like we watched HBO, as I say, True Blood, like because we couldn't go and get HBO. We didn't have the TV and stuff like that. So being able to watch some of those ones where you can't have the channels for it, right? And so stuff like that. And that isn't going to change. With streaming wise, it's still really expensive to go and do that, so.
One good memory I had with it was that when I was in school down in California and I was by myself, right? And I was like, I need, I had my little like TV DVD combo thing. And I was like, I didn't have cable on that. It was still just that. And I was like, I had bought a few DVDs and I was like, well, I can't just keep buying DVDs. I don't have the space for it. And then I found the Blockbuster. And I was just
and your
like,
whole world changed.
Yeah. And I was like, I was able to go and rent things. I didn't have a lot of downtime, but I was still able to rent stuff for those downtime that I had. Yeah. And I said, it was just like that warm, like home feeling where you're just like, like this is...
It's comforting, right?
Like I can go do something in my habitat, right? Yeah. Now, I bet you if I was doing the same thing with streaming, I'd just get lost in flipping. Yeah. Right? Because you already get mad at me enough for flipping.
I do.
Right?
It drives me nuts.
And... because you're trying to find something and like...
Well, what was fun too? I used to love going with my parents because then it would be like, okay, we could split up and we could all go look at whatever different types of things we wanted, and we could all come back together and get a little bit of everything, right? Yeah. And then you could try to convince your parents to get you candy while you're at it too in the line, because it's like a movie theater in there with candy everywhere.
Right.
Back when you could actually get fresh popcorn as you walked around the store.
Oh yeah, there was one place called Jumbo Video.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And
you guys, you did have a lot of rental places. I remember, like, I only went to the one by my house, so I knew Blockbuster was across town. So.
Yeah. Well, because I
don't even remember what it was called.
Because we rented so many, I would go through so many stores selection,
and then you need to find somewhere else.
I need to go somewhere else to see if someone else had something else that I hadn't seen yet.
Yeah.
And especially the older you get, then you start watching,
I'm like, I can like fully remember everything about this video store. I'm like having weird flashbacks now.
But that's the thing, is like that's amazing.
It's a big thing. I know, right?
Like now
it's a casino. And,
yeah. Well, now it's one's a liquor store.
Yeah.
The other one's a
insurance
office, right? The other one's a dollar store,
right?
And the other one has nothing in it, right? So the one other one is like an appliance place, right? So, I guess as an adult we can stroll through the liquor store and there's enough entertaining labels, but it's not going to give you the same 2 hours of awesome with
I used to like when you could go and get the old movie posters too from them.
Yeah, they give them away too.
That's where I got my Batman and Robin poster.
Nice. Yeah, I remember those bins. Like they'd be like just outside.
Yeah, you're like, we don't need these anymore. Take the movie posters.
Take them.
Yeah, good stuff.
I remember them going from like just take the posters to like then you had to donate for their charities. Went from being like freebies to
well, then they probably had to start paying for it or something.
Yeah, right?
They're like, wait a second, we can make money off of this,
right? But the last Blockbuster
apparently it brought a lot more nostalgia than we realized.
It brought a lot of nostalgia to it, and it was fantastic, and I just kept thinking about those things and like and seeing how little is available even to purchase now. Like that was something. Once video stores went, I was like buying up stuff that I remember watching. Yeah. You'd hit those bins and you hit those things, and then, but even still, like those things.
We own a lot of old Blockbuster discs.
Yeah. But even just like going to like Walmart and Target and stuff like that, those bins there, right?
Yeah.
But even that is like,
that's near impossible now.
Where we live, our Walmart just keeps putting the same movies in different colored dump bins. Yeah. They just they change they get a new Warner Brothers dated dump bin. Yeah. And it's still all the same stuff. And it's been that way for 3 years.
Yep. Nothing. And the movies, every single time I look in there, I'm like, what the hell is this movie? I don't even know what it is.
That, yeah.
It's like some of those ones?
Yeah, some of those.
But it's either the same movie over and over again, or it's ones that I don't even recognize.
Yeah, it's like, they're just like, it's
like total crap.
It's like...
And then the ones on the walls, like the little displays, just keep disappearing.
Yeah, and like this one dump in they have keeps being the same thing. They just change the season on it, and you're like, you know what? Suicide Squad is not an Easter movie. It's not a Halloween movie. It's not a Thanksgiving movie or a Christmas movie. Or summer. They put those exact same, they just change the sticker, and so it's like I'm waiting for who's going to be the first one to say no more discs. Yeah. Like what studio is going to do that? Yeah. And then all the others will follow suit, because the moment... And it most likely will be Disney.
I assume it's going to be Disney because they already are limited on their discs.
Yeah. But also for the fact that it'd be curious to see, because Star Wars was the first one to drop VHS for DVD. Yeah. And then when that hit, then everything started dropping VHS. It was a Phantom Menace. They just... No, it wasn't Phantom Menace. It was...
something else.
Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, okay.
I believe it was. But it was that trilogy. One of those ones. It was Attack of the Clones, or because I had a VHS of Phantom Menace.
Oh, okay.
I bought way too many of those. But that idea that they dropped it and it was a big enough movie that all the other studios went, oh, hold on, right? And that's all it's going to take is a big enough, thing to say. And then that's where we're at the danger then of course.
Well, after this pandemic here, then they've already had to release ones on streaming, and then
are they going to? They're not going to
turn around and release a disc of the Mulan or the Raya and the Last Dragon, those types of ones.
Well, they did do Mulan.
They did do Mulan. Yeah. Oh, because it's probably already planned.
Yeah.
But I don't foresee them really making a push like that.
No, because there is that. Why bother?
Yeah.
Why bother? You have it at your fingertips, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be curious to see, if any of these things get discs that are people putting on the current. That being said, though, I still because we were waiting for Godzilla vs. Kong, that we found out is going to be coming to home rental. They quietly dropped that on there. They just
updated the poster, like the little promo picture, right?
Yeah, and they haven't been promoting it as much on their social media. It was just on their main website. They changed it. So we're supposed to be able to rent it at home on the 31st. So next week, hopefully, will be Godzilla vs. Kong. But I started having those moments where I started hearing about they're really pushing that these movies are going to still be hitting theaters and all that. And it's not necessarily COVID-wise for myself. I've really enjoyed the at-home experience, because we had started experiencing so many bad things about the theater, the sticky floors and the weird stuff on the seats,
people
talking, lots of people talk, and people on their cell phones, right?
Or children in movies that they really should not be in. I can expect children making noise in a kids movie, but when I'm watching something R-rated, I don't expect children to be there. And
I sit back and I'm actually starting to have anxiety about what happens when everything goes back to normal and they start putting stuff in theaters again, because I don't want to sit beside, these people that are talking on their phone, and you got to get angry, and then they're going to give you attitude, and then.
Well, yeah, because no amount of forced seats between us is going to change the fact that they're still talking.
Right. And that was just a weird thought process that wrapped through my head.
Well, it's we couldn't believe the idea of not going to a theater.
Yeah.
And we kept fighting about that idea, the worry that it was going to go away.
Yeah.
But then having to be forced with having to deal with it, we had to reconcile, what is the good about being at home?
Yeah.
Okay, so that we had to live with that. And then
I can lay down.
But a lot of it was, we have to like the theater because it's our only place to go see it.
Yeah.
So if it's not our only option, I have no reason to choose to go there anymore.
Right. It's like a weird reverse drug hit.
Yeah.
They gave us they gave us this ability to have it at home. And I'm I can be in my pajamas. I can lay down. I can pause it. I can have a beer.
I can cuddle with my cats.
I can cuddle with, cats.
I can wear no pants.
Pizza. I can, do anything and enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
I can watch it multiple times, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm damn, this is good.
I can start it whenever I need to.
Yeah. I can start at 6, not 7:30.
Yeah.
So I still have time to do things after.
Yeah.
Or R-rated stuff that kiddo can't watch. We can start it earlier.
Yeah.
And, it's not a 10 o'clock movie or, so it's no, I don't know if I want this to go away.
Yeah.
I kind of just, and it's going to be the weird feeling when they decide to say, no, guess what? It's all going to theaters again.
Well, it'll be curious to see if that day ever comes, if the theaters will still be around.
That too.
So, but at the same time, just because we don't have a theater doesn't mean that the studios will just say, well, no, it has to be in theater, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to be, it'll be an interesting blend.
Yeah.
Seeing how that industry changes. I don't want, that to die. It's unfortunate for all those people, but right now our theaters aren't open anyway. I mean, those people unfortunately have had to find different jobs or do something anyway. So, I don't know.
It's one of those ones where it's they almost, if they're going to go back to it, there should just be a deal where it's on both.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, everyone's making money.
Yeah.
Whether it's, in the theater or at home, they're still getting paid.
Yeah.
So hopefully, But that's a random tangent. Sorry.
It was a really long random tangent, but that's okay.
It's personal interest stories.
I know.
It's what make things go.
I know.
So speaking about who just ragged on streaming,
so the movie, the TV show that we started streaming
on Amazon Prime. Luckily, though, Amazon Prime is included with your Amazon Prime.
Yeah, we have that regardless for other reasons, not because of TV. That's just an extra bonus.
Yeah.
Because I hate, honestly, Amazon Prime is my least favorite streaming service ever.
Well, it's because their app's really slow.
Their app is horribly slow, very clunky, and full of you have to pay more things.
Yeah.
So it's my least favorite thing, but it's cool for the few options that are only available. And that's what's
scary, though, is you look at that and you're just like, yeah, that's what it's going to become, though. Once they weed out all the other things.
Okay, we're not going to get off on a tangent. Back to what we were watching.
All right, so...
you wanted to watch something new that dropped.
Yeah, I was forceful about this. I said...
Yeah, he's like, bitch, we're watching this.
That word did not escape my mouth.
Did you say that to her face?
Yeah, I said, no, I didn't.
He did not. He's like, Katie, we're watching this.
Yeah, I said, we're not watching a movie this weekend. We're watching this.
This is our movie.
I really want to watch this.
I know.
So don't give me a flack that we're going to watch 3 episodes that could have easily been a movie.
No,
because that's what she likes to do. She likes to say, hey, we could be watching a movie, but we just binged 3 hours.
Yeah. So he showed me the trailer, and I was like, yeah, I'm in. We're good.
So this is another one where it shows that animation is not necessarily a genre. It's a medium.
Yes.
And that is the new Invincible.
Yes.
It is a superhero tale of... It's basically a Superman story mixed with, like... It's... Robert Kirkman took, like, every superhero and created his own thing with it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the idea...
Because there's only so many powers, honestly.
The idea that Omni-Man has his son and on Earth here, and he's like
Omni-Man's an alien.
Yeah, so it's the Superman idea. It's like Superman's son. So Invincible is kind of like Superman's power, but Spider-Man's quips.
Yes.
Right?
He's still in high school.
Yeah. So it's him dealing with his powers and what's going on in the world, and they've done a fantastic job of weaving that kind of streamlining the comic a little bit. They've cut some of the fat out, of course. And this show to me really shows how those hooks at the end of each episode make you want the next episode. Right?
Well, the end of the first episode, I told Kiddo I was traumatized by it. But there was like no way in hell I couldn't not watch episode 2.
Right?
Like it just was not possible.
Right?
And honestly, same with the second episode. I was like, okay, so when are we hitting next?
And then the third episode, you got another hook.
And it's just like oh my goodness.
That teaser of like, wait, this dude I thought was good, right?
Yeah. And just, oh my goodness.
So
it's killing me. When is the next one?
Right? So I think that's one thing that's cool. Is like this show really showed that thing. And don't pass it up just because it's animated. Yeah. The animation allows them to do everything that is a magnificent comic booky way that you don't get with live action. Yeah. Like you would never see this live action. No. Right? Now it's got the boys level of violence. Yes. Without the swearing as much, right? Yeah. So it is kind of funny that Amazon has 2 like anti-superhero shows almost. Like it's like, the what if superheroes were violent and gory and horrible. Yeah. 2 different versions of them. But Invincible is totally worth it. Like it's
I was super excited. Like I like the animation is cool. It's very beautifully done. Yeah. And the characters were interesting, and it definitely had the heart. And then it was the shock value of it, and the action, and the oh my goodness, and thinking about it in a different way. Yeah, where so much more of the reality feeling. Yeah, the what's the word I'm looking for? The collateral damage, unfortunately, that can happen. Mm-hmm. You can't actually save everyone, but the problem that when you have heroes that are not as experienced, how easy it would be for a lot of unnecessary deaths to happen while they're still trying to figure things out. Yeah. And how scary that is. Yeah. And yeah, it's really interesting because then it's also dealing with growing up in life and all of that too. So
yeah, so I'm really excited to see where it goes. The voice cast is stellar, and there's lots of your staples.
Yeah.
Classic voice actors. Kevin Michael Richardson is in it.
I mean,
Clancy Brown is in it. Mark Hamill's in it.
You can't go wrong with any of those.
So totally worth it. If you've got Prime, it's something you should check out. Because, it's an Image comic. So I said to you that...
And it's just so... There's enough of, like, shocking cliffhanger. We cannot spoil it for you right now. It's too...
Yeah, it's too new.
And you need to also have that shock.
Yeah, you need to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You need to like it. It is rated R.
Yeah, it is R.
Yeah, it's an Image comic, and Todd McFarlane had done a recent thing for WonderCon at Home, and he had talked about there being new licenses that they've acquired, or they're going to be doing things of figure-wise. I'm wondering if Invincible will be one of those. He said he had 7 new licenses to show later this year.
Oh, wow.
And so that's why I'm wondering, because being that Invincible is an Image comic, an Image comic is Todd's comic brand.
Yeah.
That if they got that deal, because those would be kind of cool toys to see. Because I know Diamond Select has an Invincible and Omni-Man 2-pack coming out.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not sold on Diamond's jointing.
No.
It's too old school clunky for me.
Yeah.
I'd love to see McFarlane's like DC Multiverse style on Invincible. Like you'd be able to get that real back rotation,
cool.
right?
Rotation, yeah.
So you thought you could get away from an episode without hearing Todd McFarlane toys, huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
almost didn't talk about McFarlane toys.
Speaking of which, they have compendiums coming out of Spawn. I kind of want to get that because the first compendium has 50 issues in it. Like that would just be a phone book of a majestic gothic horror excellence. But Invincible has 3 compendiums as well.
Yeah, you told me how long the series actually was.
It's like 120 or 115 issues or 120 issues or something like that. So it like was 25 trades. So then they have 3 compendiums that encompass all that.
Wow.
So they're like $80 a piece, but like those would look beautiful on your shelf.
Yeah.
They might be really hard to read because Yeah.
Let me just flop open this phone book here for you.
Right. So it'd be like a wizard book, like one of those big, like
part of the big 3,
right?
That was hilarious in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Androids, aliens,
or wizards, and the idea. Well, what about Doc Strange? He's just a wizard without a hat.
Yeah.
And then they just start going off about reading the.
How'd you know about Gandalf?
Gandalf. Well, I read The Hobbit back when it first came out in 1937. It's like that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But that's our week. Hopefully you enjoyed everything.
Yeah, it was a lot
thank you guys for coming back. Appreciate you listening to us. Give us a share. Give us a like. Give us a reach around. And hopefully next week we'll be talking about Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah.
If not, who knows?
We'll see.
But yeah. We're back to work, back to school, so who knows what'll happen.
We'll desperately need something on the weekend.
Right? Some relaxed time.
It's Easter weekend, though, so you have a 4-day weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
So something magical has to happen.
So stay rad, dudes.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening. Want more rad content? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review.
And remember, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes!